A couple of things. One is I went through a posting process that had some industrial testing attached to it, and we all go through life with this sort of view of your weaknesses and your strengths and areas for improvement. And what that process really discovered for me was that I was bang on in some areas and way off in others. And so what that basically told me was that I needed to do a little bit more of a deeper dive in terms of the EQ port, which I ended up doing with Carolyn. And the process has been an evolution of sorts over the course of a number of months, but highly rewarding in terms of giving me insights, both in terms of the strengths that I do have and how they could become limitations, and also focusing on those areas that I need to recognize as areas of development and how they could be optimized and keys for strategies to enable that to happen. Workplaces are social dynamics that evolve with a number of different perspectives, and really the focal point is to understand your impact in those environments and to be more specific, having the ability to be in tune with those who work in that environment as well. So having an understanding not only of how you're perceived and how you impact that environment is critically important, especially as a leader, but also getting a very keen insight in terms of your perception and sensitivity to others' emotions. And I think the key there is the ability to recognize that on the one hand is central to the journey of EQ in terms of your ability to marshal and tap into the power of EQ in the workplace. Training's been really focused on two methodologies. One has been in-depth analysis through a leadership EQ report that it's an online tool that effectively probes a number of skilled areas and development areas through an EQ lens. And it's followed up by a debrief session where she focuses on key areas, again, identifying areas where there's opportunities and areas where there could be room for improvement. I think there's really a couple of things that have evolved since I've worked with Carolyn. The first is having the insights that I did not have when I started the process. I think she's given me the tools to actually be able to recognize some of the powers of EQ in the workplace, how I effectively drive some of those considerations, and how I can influence them going forward, and how I could optimize them from the perspective of how I interact with that environment. Again, it's really about connecting to the people in the environment, understanding the drivers in that environment from an EQ perspective, specifically their emotions and the interactions between the people in the organization, both from a team perspective and also from a leadership perspective. And understanding that dynamic and optimizing that understanding enables you to basically facilitate the changes that may be required in an organization to the benefit of everybody involved. You know, workplaces in this day and age are respectful. They're culturally driven, they're very diverse, and so there's a vast sort of array of needs and perspectives on a complicated continuum, if you could put it that way. And so your ability to sort of dial into that, tap into that, and understand it equips you to basically position in terms of how to basically best optimize it going forward. And that's one of the complicated things that EQ has sort of unraveled the mystery around for myself. The thing that I like most about Carolyn is from the very first time you meet with her, you could tell that EQ is a passion for her. It's not just the job. She truly loves what she does, and so she's very much engaged from day one. So that's very, very apparent. The other thing that is clearly apparent with Carolyn is that she is also not only engaged and passionate about it, but she's very dialed into wanting to see you succeed in your journey of EQ with her through her coaching and her testing and her analysis. And I think, you know, in respect of having both of those traits and really mirroring those each and every time you meet with her, regardless of the frequency, you know, she really brings an inspirational approach to how she goes about instilling these factors and these understandings in the EQ journey that we all go through when we go and see her for coaching sessions. That's an interesting question. A number of perspectives attached to that, but I think the primary perspective is that she's enabled me to understand with some clarity, very, very clear understanding of how I interact with my environment. But not only that, how I'm perceived in the environment. We all go through life with our own self-perceptions, and you know, we rarely get the opportunity to test them in any sort of meaningful way. And so what she's done is she's brought the sort of the objectivity to that in my case. And sort of the understanding that I've gleaned from that has positioned me to better optimize how I interact with that environment to the benefit of all the parties, myself and staff, and even in a personal context from a friends and family perspective, it has no boundaries. It transcends across the spectrum. She makes it enjoyable, and you know, as painful as it can be, because she does push you through her comfort zones, and she does it in a way that's you know, consistently delivers results. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own sort of stuff that they're trying to basically manage and overcome when they meet with her in terms of developing their careers to be a better leader or a better effective manager or whatever the case may be. But you know, she really has the ability to sort of bring the best out of you and to challenge you, but to do it in a way that's progressive, because there are some uncomfortable moments as you sort of move through this, because effectively when you do come and meet with her, you're doing that after years of doing something in a certain way, seeing it in a certain light, and fundamentally practicing it unconsciously in many respects over the years. And so to unwind that takes some time and some patience, and she's good at all of that. She has an innate ability to dial into the areas that need to be focused on. Her insights are, you know, I work in labor relations for a living. I deal with people and have been for over the course of my career, which is spanning over 25 years. I think I'm a pretty good read of people. She's better than me. She's really, really good at what she does, and she's got some incredible insights that sort of blow me away each and every time I meet with her. She's really spot on. When EQ was first raised with me, I was the skeptic of all skeptics. I knew best. I've been doing this for a long time. I've worked in the people business, and I know people best. What this has taught me is that, you know, that may not be the case in all respects. And so that sort of self-realization, if you could put it in those terms, really broke the ice in terms of sort of being able to sort of be open to understanding this in a different level, and be exploring it for all it's worth in terms of your journey as it means to you from an EQ perspective. I think the ability to connect with people in a meaningful way has really opened up a lot more possibilities for me as a leader and as a manager of people on behalf of a private sector enterprise that has really opened up some doors that I've never seen before prior to actually working with Carolyn. And I think it really has the potential to unleash potential, but it takes a process and some time and some commitment to basically realize those gains. They don't come easy, but it's well worth the investment. Carolyn's awesome. She really is. She brings a very meaty, weighty, at times sensitive topic to a table with a very unique learning perspective attached to it that she's able to execute on with some results. And so unreservedly, 100%. Demonstrating that, I've actually put my money where my mouth is. I've actually sat down with all of my staff after I did the initial assessment with Carolyn and said, you know, the journey for me initially has been one of an iterative process, and the first iteration in my journey of development along this continuum has been the realization of the perceptions that I held and what was valid and what was not. I said the aha moment for me was that, you know, I'm still learning at sort of this stage of my career, which was sort of a breakthrough moment for myself, because again, we all have this sort of self-perception about where we are and where we stand on the continuum, both from a professional and a learning perspective. So I've encouraged all of my staff, from my directors down to my managers, to basically take the opportunity to explore this for all it's worth, because there's a huge value proposition attached to it, not only from my perspective, which is secondary. The primary perspective is for them to basically understand who they really are, how they could optimize their strengths and their talents, and how they basically can master their EQ. She's insightful, she's patient, she's bright. I don't think I've met anyone who has got as many degrees as she has. She's fun, outgoing, gregarious, takes a topic, like I said, that's, you know, meaty, can be sensitive and weighty, and makes it fun and interactive. And she has an uncanny ability to do that, regardless of the point in which you're sort of along your EQ development with her. Her consistency is really what makes her shine, and I think her insights overlaid on top of that basically complete the package.